Hi everyone, welcome back to KG Graves. It's 2025. Back in September 2022, we went to St Gregory's churchyard in Weare, Somerset to visit the grave of actor and comedian Frankie Howerd. More information about Frankie coming up shortly, but as usual, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.
By no way at all could you call me an intellectual. And which is why I feel so much at home here tonight. We're getting the comedy acting now. We're getting the comedy stuff now, all right? Okay? Go. Oh no! Oh no, Mrs. I'll do an encore. I don't usually do encores till the end, if I get to the end. All right. No, not on your Nelly. You shut your face, you. Oh, titty not, titty not. This is... Oh, nay, nay, thrice nay, and year day nay. It's coming out now, you see. It's all coming out. Coming out in a torrent now.
Frankie Howerd was born Francis Alec Howerd on the 6th of March 1917 in York, England, to parents Francis and Edith née Morrison. He was an English actor and comedian. The family moved to Eltham, London, while he was a young child, and he was educated at Shooters Hill Grammar School. His first stage appearance was at age 13, but his early hopes of becoming a serious actor were dashed when he failed an audition for the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. He began to entertain during World War II service in the British Army. In 1944, he became a bombardier in Plymouth, was promoted to sergeant, and on the 6th of June 1944 was part of the D-Day effort, but was stuck on a boat off Normandy. Despite suffering from stage fright, he continued to work after the war, beginning his professional career in the summer of 1946 in a touring show called For the Fun of It. His act was soon heard on radio when he made his debut in early December 1946 on the BBC's Variety Bandbox programme with a number of other ex-servicemen. His profile rose in the immediate post-war period, aided with material written by Eric Sykes, Galton and Simpson and Johnny Speight. Sykes punctuated the material with various oohs and ahs to provide punctuation pauses in the delivery, but Frankie decided to deliver these verbatim. He then toured the music hall circuit with an act including what became his standard catchphrases such as "tittery not." He also became a regular in the 1950s editions of the weekly hard copy comic Film Fun. In 1954 he made his screen debut opposite Petula Clark in The Runaway Bus, which had been written for his specific comic talent. He appeared on That Was the Week That Was, TW3, in 1963, and on stage with A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, 1963 to 1965, which led into regular television work. In 1966 and 1967, he co-hosted a 90-minute Christmas show called The Frankie and Bruce Christmas Show with Bruce Forsyth, featuring many top acts of the day. A one-off show for Thames Television, Frankie Howerd Meets the Bee Gees, was shown on the 20th of August 1968. During the 1960s and 1970s, he was involved in shows for the BBC and Thames Television, as well as Frankie Howerd Reveals All for Yorkshire Television in 1980. Frankie was known for his seemingly off-the-cuff remarks to the audience, especially in the show Up Pompeii 1969-70. His television work was characterised by direct addresses to camera and by his monologues with the verbal tics such as "Ooh, no missus" and "Tittery not." A later sale of his scripts, however, showed that the seemingly off-the-cuff remarks had all been meticulously planned. Barry Cryer said of his technique, "What he could do with a script was amazing, like all great performers. He transformed something you'd just written. What you hoped was in a Frankie Howerd idiom, but when you heard him do it, my God, it was something else." Another feature of his humour was to feign innocence about his obvious and risque double entendres, while mockingly censoring the audience for finding them funny. Frankie appeared as Frankie Bigger, one of the lead characters in the 1967's Carry On Doctor. In 1970, he starred in another Carry On film, Carry On Up the Jungle. The success of the film version of Up Pompeii in 1971 saw British exhibitors vote him the 9th most popular star at the British box office that year. He would play versions of the character Lurkio in Up the Chastity Belt, Lurk-a-Lot, also in 1971, and Up the Front, Boot Boy Lurk in 1972. Another popular film was The House in Nightmare Park in 1973. In 1971, he recorded with June Whitfield a comedy version of the song Je t'aime, previously recorded by Jane Birkin and Serge Gainsbourg, in which she featured as Mavis alongside Frankie as Frank, and a third unexplained sleeping partner named Arthur. In 1976, he appeared in The Frankie Howerd Show on CBC television in Canada. It received good ratings but was not renewed. In 1977, Frankie was awarded an OBE. In 1978, Frankie appeared in the big-budget Hollywood musical Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, playing Mean Mr. Mustard, acting alongside musical and film talent such as Peter Frampton, the Bee Gees, George Burns, Alice Cooper, Aerosmith and Steve Martin. He was cast by producer Robert Stigwood, as he was on Stigwood's record label at the time. The film was a critical and commercial flop. Since Frankie was not well known to American audiences, this may have been his biggest exposure in the US. In 1979, he did a cabaret tour of New Zealand. In 1982, he appeared in the televised versions of Gilbert and Sullivan's Trial by Jury as the learned judge and HMS Pinafore as Sir Joseph Porter, KCB. He performed a comedy duet with Cilla Black on Cilla Black's Christmas 1983. After 6 years without a regular television show in the United Kingdom, though he had hosted a one-off UK version of The Gong Show for Channel 4, which was critically panned and was not commissioned for 4 series, Frankie returned to TV screens in 1987 in the Channel 4 show Super Frank. In the last years of his career, he developed a following with student audiences and performed a one-man show at universities and in small theatrical venues. He was also a regular guest on the late-night BBC Radio 1 programme Into the Night, hosted by Nicky Campbell. In 1990, he contributed to the last recording studio collaboration between Alan Parsons and Eric Woolfson on the album Freudiana, performing Sex Therapy. Frankie often worked with Sonny Rogers, who was his accompanying pianist from 1960 onwards. She appeared in his TV and live theatre shows, including his last major West End appearance, his one-man show at the Garrick Theatre in 1990. He also occasionally performed with accompanist Vera Roper of Southend-on-Sea, who was billed as Madame Vera Roper. Throughout his career, Frankie hid his potentially career-destroying homosexuality from both his audience and his mother, Edith. Sexual acts between consenting males were illegal in England and Wales until 1967. In 1958, he met wine steward Dennis Hamer at the Dorchester Hotel while dining with Sir John Mills. Frankie was 40 and Hamer was 28. Hamer became his lover as well as manager and stayed with him for more than 30 years until Frankie's death, with Hamer helping to revive his flagging career in the 1960s. However, the two had to remain discreet as Frankie feared being blackmailed if anyone beyond his immediate circle found out. The relationship was explored in 2008 in a drama for BBC 4, Rather You Than Me, starring David Walliams and Rafe Spall. Backstage, Frankie was notoriously bold in his advances and was known for his promiscuity. One of his former boyfriends was comic actor Lee Young, who created the TV sitcom Whoops Baghdad 1973 for him. His uncomfortable relationship with his sexuality, he once allegedly said to Cilla Black, "I wish to God I wasn't gay," as well as his depressive mental state, led him to seek resolution through a series of different methods. Hamer would often drop him off on Friday at his psychiatrist, who would ply him with LSD over the weekend. This experience was later the subject of the March 2015 BBC Radio 4 drama Frankie Takes a Trip. In his early career, Frankie suffered a stutter, which caused him some distress, but which he turned to his advantage in developing his delivery style as a comic. For the last 20 years of his life, Frankie and Hamer lived in Wavering Down, a house in the village of Cross, Somerset, under the Mendip Hills. After his death, Hamer curated Frankie's collection of memorabilia until his own death in 2009. Having contracted a virus during a Christmas trip to the Amazon in 1991, Frankie suffered respiratory problems at the beginning of April 1992 and was taken to the clinic in London's Harley Street, but was discharged at Easter. He collapsed and died of heart failure 2 weeks later, on the morning of the 19th of April 1992, aged 75. 2 hours before he died, he was speaking on the telephone to his TV producer about new ideas for his next show. Frankie also lived at 27 Edwards Square, Kensington, London W8. The house bears a blue plaque installed by the Dead Comics Society in 1993. In March 1999, former colleagues and friends and Frankie's sister Betty attended a fundraising weekend in York, and a blue plaque was placed on the Cumberland Street entrance to the Grand Opera House. The inscription reads, Frankie Howerd, OBE, 1917 to 1992, son of York. In 2016, a York Civic Trust plaque was unveiled at 53 Hartoft Street, his childhood home, by York-born actor Mark Adey and the Lord Mayor of York. The Church Hall of St Barnabas Church, Eltham, was renamed the Frankie Howerd Centre in the 1980s and was opened by Frankie himself. Frankie featured on 4 singles, 2 albums, 4 radio shows, 21 TV shows, 1 video, and at least 18 films. 3 biographies were also written about Frankie. Let's see where his grave is located. So there you have it, the grave of Frankie Howerd, an English actor and comedian and a very funny guy. As usual, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, it's absolutely free, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. See you on the next one.